Have you laid your guitar tracks perfectly on the grid, quantized every drum hit to 120 note precision, and then wonder why the entire song suddenly feels dead? Yeah, me too. In metal, where raw aggression meets precision, going too perfect can strip the life right out of your music. So before you Control A, Control Q your next session, stick around. By the end of today's episode, you'll know exactly why hyper editing is killing your vibe and what to do instead. I once worked on a metalcore album. Band was unreal, like Berkeley level chops, tight as hell arrangements. But when they sent me their edited tracks, every single hit, chug, and fill was dead center on the grid. They spent days tightening things with surgical precision. When I pressed play, the song sounded robotic, perfect, but lifeless. So I went in and started shifting a few things off the grid, pulled certain fills back 5 to 10 milliseconds, let a few snare hits breathe, brought some groove back into the chugs. The result? The song started to move again. It had tension, it had release, it felt human. That's when it clicked. In a genre that prides itself on tightness, we still need imperfection to connect with the listener. So the first reason you shouldn't edit to the grid is you lose the human groove. Here's the deal. Music breathes because humans are imperfect. That subtle push and pull between instruments, the kick landing just ahead of the beat, the snare sitting back a touch, that's what gives music feel. When you slam everything to the grid, you kill that. Let's say your drummer is naturally pushing the tempo during the chorus. It's subtle, maybe 8 milliseconds ahead, but it adds urgency. If you snap that section perfectly to the grid, the chorus loses its energy. Now it just sits there. The same goes for the guitars. If the drummer is rushing slightly and you recorded your rhythm guitars locked to that feel, quantizing the drums after the fact means your guitars are now late. So what do you do next? You quantize the guitars too. Before you know it, you're in a never-ending grid correction loop, and the whole thing sounds like it was programmed by a robot. The takeaway is aim for tight but musical. Edit with intention, not obsession. Reason 2 is over-editing destroys impact and dynamics. When you quantize too aggressively, everything starts landing at the exact same millisecond. Your kick, snare, bass chugs, boom, 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 all stacked perfectly. Sounds powerful on paper, but in practice, it's a mixing nightmare. First, transient masking becomes a huge issue. When all of your transients hit at once, they fight each other for headroom. You try to fix it with compression, but that just makes it worse. Everything gets squashed, and the mix loses punch. Then there's listener fatigue. Humans aren't wired to enjoy robotic repetition. Even in a genre like metal that leans on tightness, our ears crave tiny variations. Those micro differences in timing and tone are what make a performance feel alive. And here's the kicker. When you over-edit, you strip the dynamics right out of your music. Choruses no longer hit harder than the verses, fills don't build tension, everything becomes one flat, continuous line. Leave some breath in the performance. Let the drummer rush a fill slightly. Let a chug land a little behind. That's where the emotion lives. Reason 3, it actually makes mixing harder. This one always surprises people. You'd think that perfect edits would make mixing easier, right? Not always. Let's talk about phase issues. When you quantize drums too tightly, especially multi-mic drums, you can accidentally shift the phase relationships between mics. Suddenly, your snare sounds hollow, your toms lose all their low end, now you're in a deep polarity land, trying to fix something that wasn't broken until you edited it. Same goes with drum samples. If you're using layered samples and you've lined every single hit up perfectly, slight differences between round-robin samples can actually cause flamming or doubling. So instead of fixing the groove, you've introduced a new problem that requires more editing or automation. And if you're slicing every DI guitar chug down to the millisecond, you've probably also introduced weird pick attack inconsistencies, face smear with reamp tones, and general sense of, why does this feel worse even though it's cleaner? The bottom line, over-editing often creates problems that didn't exist before. Reason number 4, you're sabotaging your live show. Let's be honest, you drop a single with machine gun kicks, flawlessly edited vocals, and laser-tight guitars. Fans eat it up. Then you hit the stage, and suddenly that performance feels underwhelming. Why? Because the record was too perfect. It set a bar your live playing can't hit without backing tracks or heavy triggers. And once fans realize that disconnect, they lose a bit of that suspension of disbelief. But if your record has just enough of that human element, if it grooves even while being tight, your live show feels like an extension of the album. And now, instead of disappointing people, you're blowing them away. Imperfection builds trust. It shows you could actually play this stuff. And in today's heavily processed world, that authenticity stands out more than ever. So how to keep it tight without killing the feel? My 80-20 edit method. So here's what I recommend. Don't throw editing out the window. Just use it strategically. Step 1, start with great takes. Always comp the best raw performances first. If you're fixing everything in the edit, you're working with the wrong takes. Step 2, target problem spots. Only fix the stuff that actually jumps out. Late snares, way ahead kicks, or chugs that don't lock in the pocket. Most of the time, that's only 15 to 20% of the entire track. Step 3, edit in context. Never solo edit. What sounds off solo might feel perfect in the mix. A snare hit that's 12 milliseconds late might add groove in the context of the guitars. Step 4, maintain relationships. If you're moving drums, make sure you're not throwing them off the bass or guitars that were tracked to them. The key is to preserve musical relationships, not just timing. Step 5 is commit and move on. At some point, the edits are done. Bounce the tracks, move into mixing, and don't look back. Endless editing is the fastest path to lifeless music. So let's wrap it all up. Hyper-editing kills groove. Perfect timing can wreck transients and dynamics. You're probably making your mix harder, not easier. Fans want to hear what you can actually play live, and use the 80-20 rule. Fix the big problems and leave the soul intact. If you're wondering how much is too much, chances are you're already over-editing. If today's episode helped you rethink your editing approach, do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. It helps more bands like yours discover the show. And as always, keep rocking, keep writing, and keep making metal that slays. And for the love of riffs, don't quantize the life out of your music. Until next time, this is Dan, and I'll catch you on the next episode.